Shalom Israel, Shalom. His brother Ryan, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong Shalom to all that are mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they're out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong Shalom to all that are mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, by being diligent, doing everything they can do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong Shalom to all that are mighty Akwaf in this thing, actually sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong Shalom to all that are mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, right, doing everything they could do to magnify the Most High in the ministry. Another strong Shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, making their body a living sacrifice in the last days. Right, this is going to be an in-depth breakdown on the death angel, plagues of Egypt, and the death of the firstborn. Right, and I'm about to share my screen. Give me a strong Shalom. Give me a strong Khan, if you can see the screen. All right, we're going to dive straight into it through the Spirit. Right, we have to remember the days of old. That's why it's beautiful through the Spirit that the Most High has these feast days and their seasons and their ordinances, that we may remember the days of old. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Psalms, chapter 77. If you forget the days of old, you forget your heritage. You forget your wars. You forget things that we have conquered as a nation of people, man. You forget your God if you forget the days of old, his works. Does not the Lord say, muse upon the work of his hands? The work of his hands isn't just talking about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the wind. It's also talking about the wars, right? The ancient gods that the Lord had destroyed by his mighty hand. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 77, and verse number 5. I've considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. So we have to go all the way back to generations and generations to remember the ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with my own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. So each time there's a Passover, each time there's a new moon, each time there's a memorial blowing of the trumpets, each time there's a Feast of Tabernacles, you're supposed to dive deeper and deeper on an understanding of your heritage, these laws, going deeper than the surface, right? Getting spiritual, right? How do you spiritually keep these ordinances, right? What does this mean, right? You're supposed to make diligent search and find out all these accounts. It says, I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with my own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. So we have to diligently search out all of these parables, allegories, mysteries, and prophecies, us living in the last days. Because if you didn't know, we living in the days of Noah. We're living in the days of Lot all over again. We're living in the days, right, that were before the Lord sent destruction and plagues upon the earth. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Exodus. Right, let's go to Exodus chapter 7. It's the mighty book of Exodus chapter 7, and I'm going to start at verse 17. Now, each one of these plagues out of the 10 plagues has a spirit behind it. It wasn't just a random darkness or a random frog or random lice or just cattle out of nowhere, whatever the case may be of how the Lord did these things and the flies. Each one of these, as you go into the 10 plagues, it brings about a spirit. You know, the Most High doesn't do anything by chance. You know, everything has its ordinance and why the Lord had created and its structure upon the earth. You know, nothing is just going on for the sake of it, and man doesn't know. Right, the Lord has everything right in its ordinance. Right, I want to get this quick precept before I dive into that. Let's go to the mighty book of Sirach. It's the mighty book of Sirach, chapter 33. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 33. And I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, some of them have he made high days, right? The Feast of Tabernacles, the new moon, the Sabbath days, and hallowed them, meaning consecrated and highly respected them. And some of them have he made ordinary days. And all men are made from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. In much knowledge, the Lord hath divided them and made their ways diverse. So everything's diverse. The Lord created man diverse, the beast diverse, right? The prophecies in their respective seasons, they're diverse. It says, some of them have he blessed and exalted, some of them have he sanctified and set near himself, but some of them have he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places. Right? Talking about man. Right? And the Lord will do that to you, man. Jumping down to verse 15. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against the other. Right? So there are things once against another that the Lord had created. Everything's in a balance with the Most High. The Most High has everything in balance. You know, as the potter in his hand fashioned one to honor and one to dishonor, and vice versa. So when we go into these plagues and we dive into it, we got to uncover the meaning of what each one of these mean and the spirit behind it, that we may be in the spirit of the Passover. Being in the spirit of the Passover is being in the spirit of Yahushua, understanding the death of the firstborn, understanding why Pharaoh's heart was puffed up, understanding why we had to suffer in that situation to be patient, that we may understand the true riches of being brought out of captivity, man, into salvation. Right? All of these things that we read about, all of the different plagues, even the gospels, as the Lord was healing, all of that's very important and pivotal as you go into the Passover. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 7, and verse number 17. Thus saith the Lord, and this thou shalt have known, I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters, which are in the river, and they shall be turned into blood. So the Lord said the first plague, the Lord said he's going to turn water into blood. Now, if you're going to come and destroy a nation of people and or a heritage and destroy these men, each one of these plagues is going into something. Now, if the Lord's going to turn water into blood, water is symbolic for what? Life. Everywhere water comes, that's where life is sustainable. You have plants, a beast, insects, man, trees, right? All type of flowers. Everything about water brings life. So if you take water away, right, from a citizen, right, or a city or whatever the case may be, an isle, a country, you're taking life from it. So the first plague is the Lord showing you that he's turning that water, right, and he's turning it into blood, which is a sign of death happening to ancient Egypt. Right, let me get a quick precept on that. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Leviticus. Because in the blood, there's the life of man. Right, this is the mighty book of Leviticus, chapter 17 and verse number 14. And it reads, for it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, you shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh. For the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. So if you eat and or drink blood, the Lord said he'll cut you off. Because in that blood, there's life. And you can't really see that life unless it's shed, meaning an animal or a man. So if you see nothing but blood, right, as a sign in all of the waters of Egypt, where it's supposed to bring forth life, right, and prosperity and health, that's a sign of destruction and death coming upon that place. Not to say that anybody physically died off of it, the Egyptians and or their children, but it's a sign. The Lord does everything with a sign. The Lord shows you the blood moons. The Lord shows you the new moon with a sign. And everything the Lord does, the Lord may show you a sign by night in a dream and a vision. So the Most High's first plague upon this place was a sign by Pharaoh being proud, not letting his people go. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Exodus, the 5th chapter. This is Exodus chapter 5 and verse 1. And afterward, Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is the Lord? That's the same spirit that Cain had. Who is the Lord that I should listen to him? Man? Who is God? That's a proud, puffed up mindset, like Nebuchadnezzar, man. It is by my might and my strength that I have ordained his kingdom. These gods of this world on the left-hand side, right? These men in these kingdoms and these pharaohs, right? All of these different princes and prime ministers and presidents, they're proud because they have wealth. They have a society and a government and things to sustain them. It says that I should obey his voice to let Israel go. I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go. So since you didn't want to listen, the Lord has to show you by the power and might who he is. Let's get that in the book, right, of Joshua. Let's go to Joshua chapter 11. It's Joshua chapter 11 and verse 20. For it was of the Lord to harden the hearts that they should not come, so like that they should come against Israel in battle. So the Most High is the one that hardens your heart. When you have a grudge and you can't forgive a brother or a sister, the Most High, he the one that hardens your heart, man. For whatever reason, to give you over to vanity, to destroy you by these demons and these spirits, to harden your heart that you may repent and go twice as harder for the Lord. The Most High does all things. It says to harden their hearts, right, to come against Israel in battle, that he might destroy them utterly. So what was the mindset of the Most High to be able to plague Pharaoh to harden his heart? Not that he was a grumpy man. Not that he was just mean old Pharaoh, man. And the Lord hardened his heart that he may destroy him. That's the whole reason he put pride, arrogancy, and evilness within his mind. It says, and that they may have no favor, but that he might destroy them as the Lord had commanded Moses. So the Most High hardens your heart to give you over to that vanity of destruction, right? Let me go back to it. Let's go back to the mighty book, right, of Exodus. So when the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart, and the Lord had to send signs and plagues upon that land, that they may see and repent and withdraw back from the evilness and mindset that they once had. But everybody isn't going to repent and withdraw their evil hand from the things that they have done. Let's go to the mighty book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19, and I'm going to start at verse number 4. For the destiny whereof they were worthy drew this unto them in. So the Lord said, for the destiny whereof they were worthy drew them unto this end. Meaning certain people are ordained for wickedness, witchcraft, evilness, stealing, robbery, evil communication, and lust and vanity, man, of this world. Some people are ordained for that type of lifestyle and mindset. That's why when people say, well, everybody can be saved, that's not true, man. Only Israel can be saved. And not all Israel can truly be saved, because the Lord's coming to save the elect out of Israel. The men, women, and children that sigh and cry day and night for all the abominations and lust and evilness done in Babylon. Those that truly understand his word that the Most High gave. So destiny's in the Bible. And it drew the Egyptians worthy unto that end. It says, and made them forget the things that have already happened. So all of the plagues that were kicking off from the blood, the frogs, the lice, right, all the way till you get down to the death of the firstborn, the Lord said he had drew that mindset and that demon in their minds that they may forget all that had happened. Now imagine that, man. Imagine if the Most High plagued you, for robbing. You broke your arm and you forgot that you broke your arm. You're still in a broken like a state, but you forgot why you broke your arm. You go back and steal. Now you broke your other arm and you forgot how you're even in this situation. Hey, the Lord is the king of terrors, man. Now I got 2 broken arms and I keep stealing and I don't know why. And I don't know why my arms are broke. I'm forgetting the things that have actually happened in the past. Now I've broken my neck and I keep stealing to the point where it's drawing me into death. That's what the Lord slowly broke down these Egyptians to the point where they may kill themselves by their own devices. It says that they might fulfill the punishment which was wanting to their torments. So the Lord drew them unto torments. The Most High is the king of terrors. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Revelation, chapter 16. It's Revelation chapter 16 and verse number 3. It says, and the second angel poured out his vial, because you have the vials and the trumpets, right, going into the last days of World War III, upon the sea. and it became as the blood of a dead man. And every living soul died in the sea. Check that out, man. So the same plagues that are going on in ancient Egypt are coming all over again. You have the frogs that you read about in Revelation, the 16th chapter. You have the blood that you read about in Revelation, the 16th chapter, right? And symbolically, all throughout the cattle, the boils, and all of these things that we're going to go through, all of these things has happened somewhere in the scriptures and are going to happen in the last days when you go into it. Because Egypt, right, is America all over again. Well, let me get that quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book, right? A second address. It's the book of second address, right? Chapter 15. And I'm going to start right at verse number 9. And therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock right to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Second Esdras 15 and 16 is going into the last days. Us as a whole people, we're not dwelling in the land of Egypt. We have a couple of people spread abroad in those coasts, but the Lord said, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. America is our major captivity, where predominantly a lot, right, of the Lord's elect are, right, in Babylon the Great, where they're going to be waking up and stand upon their feet. So the Lord said, I'm not going to suffer them to dwell in Egypt. So Egypt is America all over again with the same sorcery, the same spirits, the same divinations, the same enchantments, the same lies, right, the same structure. Right, going back to the book of Exodus, chapter 7, and verse 17, it says, thus saith the Lord, and this thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because he said, who is the Lord that I may serve him? So the Most High has to show him his might and his strength. Behold, I will smite with the rod, right, that is in my hand upon the waters, which are in the river, and they shall be turned into blood. Now I'm going to get another quick precept. Now, what was in those rivers? Right? Let me get this real fast. Let's go to the mighty book of Exodus. Matter of fact, let me go to Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 9. In verse number 12. It says, for man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth upon them suddenly, right? So like it's suddenly upon them. So a man doesn't know his time, just like fishes, right, that are taken in the evil net. And those men didn't know the times that the Most High was putting in that they may be destroyed, that the Most High may take them like a thief in the night and destroy them in their vanity. Right, let me get one more. And the rivers are supposed to bring forth life, but they brought forth to them death. Let's get the book of Revelation, chapter 22, right? In verse number 1. And he shewed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. Right? So even in the third heaven, you have the rivers of water flowing from the Most High's throne. You know, that's on a physical, so like that's on a spiritual level. On a carnal level, right, waters bring forth fish. They bring forth food. Right, when Yahushua and the men, right, his disciples were at the Sea of Tiberias, right, when they were fishing. Let me get that real fast. It's the book of John, chapter 21 and verse 1. After these things, Yahushua showed himself again unto his disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on this wise shewed himself, jumping all the way down to verse number 5. Then Yahushua said unto them, children, have ye any meat? They answered him, no. And he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. And they cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes. So, I mean, that water is going to bring forth food, life, abundance, right? Watering up your plants and your harvest. You know, that's very important for any structure to be able to have water. And when the Lord took that from them, that was a sign of death that was going to happen. Let me get one more on that. Let me get Revelation chapter 8. going into World War III again, and the signs. In verse number 7. And the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Right? It says, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. So the Lord said, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Blood is just a sign of death, right? Even when you go into the horsemen, right, you have a red horse. Even when you go into the seals, right, the first seal, right, was the white of salvation. But right after that, you go into it, which was a sign of what? Of blood and death. The Lord had given him a great sword, right? Let me get that real fast. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 6, in verse number 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. So if you're taking peace from the earth, that's the same spirit of that sign in ancient Egypt. The Lord showing that sign that he's taking peace from Egypt, and he's about to bring upon death and destruction. It says, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Now, this is talking about Esau, right? But it's really going into the Roman Empire, coming into power, right? Leaving the Greek Empire into the structure of that strong horn, right? The strongest of them all, and the four beasts, right? Going into the Roman Empire, coming fully into power and taking down everybody and anything, right? When you're going into these things. Now, let's go back to the mighty book of Exodus, chapter 7. Now, out of all of these, you have sorcery that took place as you go through all, well, not all, but most of these 10 plagues. Because the ancient Egyptians, they stood up to try to combat Moses and Aaron through the spirit of the Most High. All right? Now, let's jump to verse 22. And it reads, it says, and the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Neither did he hearken unto them, as the Lord said. Now, he didn't hearken unto them because, one, he was proud. Two, he understood that his ancient so-called magicians and sorcerers were able to do seemingly the same things that Moses was doing. So it wasn't that new to him, or it wasn't that elaborate or shocking or impressive. He wasn't perplexed and confounded, and he didn't look at the glory of the Most High on the right-hand side as it was. Because when you look at this man's society, and you look at all of the things that he does, the chemicals, the pharmaceutical medicines, all of the bombs and the things that he makes, and all of the helicopters, the sorcery, the things he's constructing, right? And the things that he's doing, it's hard to impress this man, even in this society. He has infrared goggles and lights and beams, right? He has flashlights that could shoot, right, damn, 2,000 miles, right? He could look at man and the temperature through walls, right? So the same sorcery they have in ancient Egypt is what they were having, right? And they have that to this very day because they serve a god of this world. They serve the spiritual demon Satan, which gives them their power, right? Now I want to go real fast to the book of Exodus, right? Chapter 8 and verse 1. And I want to touch on the frogs. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 8 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go. So the Lord is telling you through the hand of Moses over and over and over to let the Israelites go, that they may serve you. And if thou refuse to let them go, and that's another thing that's spiritual, we have to be let low. We have to be let loose out of Egypt that we may truly serve the Lord. And this is the new Egypt. You think we could truly serve the Lord in totality, all of us as a nation of people? The elect is going to serve the Lord here, but there's too much sorcery here. Every single time you look around, you see wickedness, man. You see drugs, pills, sex, violence, every and anything to pull you away by an invisible hand of these demons that are calling. It says, if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. Now, frogs are symbolic of confusion. Because when the Lord sent, right, and so like I wanted to pull this real fast for the blood. I didn't get to show that. But look at this, man. Imagine all of Egypt full with blood. That'll make anybody lose their mind and say, well, hold on, man. I don't know who Moses is. I don't know who Aaron is. But whatever God they serve, man, we got to respect it, man. Even in your pride. But yet they didn't. This is all somebody have to see. But when you're blinded through pride, even the strongest of signs you can't witness. Look at the children of this world, man. The Israelites. There's an eclipse about to happen. There's blood moons. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, cuz. Just smoking, not understanding what's going on. You heard about Russia? Yeah, man. I don't really know what's going on with that, man. Pass the point. You see all of these signs, but the wicked can never perceive it. It says, Salaki, looking at all of this, it's serious. But the signs of the frogs represent confusion. So the first sign of the Lord, he let you know that death was coming upon Egypt. And the Lord was showing you. And the second sign are frogs. Now, frogs aren't sent to kill you, but frogs is a sign of panicking, confusion, everything not in order. They're going all over the place. They're hopping over here. They're hopping over there. You're trying to hide. You're frantic. You're fretting. You don't know what to do. And that's a sign that's going to come upon America. Because the Lord has showed you that death is going to happen in this place. Now America is confused. America's money currency is dropping in China. People are not dealing with America like they used to. And they're going to cut ties like the Lord said, right? All of the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, man. Right? The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. And America is going to be confused, as it already is. But it's going to be in a very, very, very higher state than it is now. So these frogs are sent to confuse men and to have men in the uproar. All right, let's go to the mighty book of Exodus. Salakia, Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. And anybody knows if your house is out of order, then you got to get it in order. Right? If you're all over the place and you don't know what to do and your nation's out of order, a government's out of order, that's going to trickle down to make war and, an army out of order, to make voting and all the inhabitants of the land out of order. When order is not established in a kingdom, then everything in it is going to fall. This is the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits. 3 is a number of completion. Like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So the Lord said in the last days, right, 3 is a number of completion. Unclean spirits, meaning demons, like frogs, because frogs hop around. Frogs don't stay still, man. Frogs may be looking to their next place to pounce. And frogs, they hop here, they hop there, they're all over the place. Out of the mouth, right, of the dragon. Now, the dragon is really talking about the Roman Empire on one phrase, but on another level, it's talking about the spiritual demon Satan. And out of the mouth of the beast, right, America. And out of the mouth of the false prophet. Right, the false prophet are your leaders of this world that are in religion. Your Christianity, right, your Islam, right, your Egyptologists, all of the lies and sorceries that have confused men out of their mouth. That's the great false prophet. That isn't one specific person. But these are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth. So what is frogs likened to? To hop all over the world to the kings of the earth. Meaning each one of these frogs are hopping over to Russia, hopping over China, hopping all the way to Babylon the Great, hopping all the way to French, hopping all the way to Italian, going all over the place for the whole world to gather them, right, to the battle with the great day of God Almighty. So all of these frogs are hopping around with sorcery to defile you and confuse you. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19. It's the mighty book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse number 10. It says, for a while, Salakia, for they were yet mindful of these things that were done while they sojourned in a strange land, how the ground brought forth flies instead of cattle, and how the river cast a multitude of frogs instead of fishes. So it says, and how the river cast up a multitude of frogs. So out of the deadness of the rivers casted the frogs. So emerging out of death is confusion. Right? And the sign of death is confusion. So the Lord, how he's mapping out this thing, right, in the spirit, the Egyptians don't know what's going on, man. They're trying to figure out what all of these strange things are happening. But the children of Israel, they knew what was going on. Moses knew what was going on. The elect, they knew what was going on. Right, let's go to the mighty book, right, of Psalms, chapter 105. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 105, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 30. It says, their land brought forth frogs in abundance, and their chambers of their kings. Where was it truly at? In the chamber of kings. So the same way the Lord said in Revelation, the 16th chapter, these same frogs, well, these are spiritual, right? Which are spirits sent forth likened unto that beast and that creature and that, those type of things, right? This isn't physical frogs. There were physical frogs in ancient Egypt, but these are spiritual frogs. But the same thing, what did they go forth to do? Unto the kings of the earth. The same way, these kings and these princes and Pharaoh, they sent to confuse them, to confound them. And that's very important, man. Because if a king is out of order, the whole kingdom is going to be out of order, man. Once you have a righteous king sitting upon the throne, everybody else is going to be established. Now, what happened when the frogs were sent out? The sorcerers of Egypt sent out the same plague, right, of frogs, right, to combat that. Let me go to that. Let's go to Exodus chapter 8. And let's read verse 7. And the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. Now it's as if Pharaoh was mocking the Most High. It's as if he's coming against the Most High. Ha, frogs, I can send frogs too. Probably snap, bung his little gavel, or God knows what he had. He shrugged his head, he twisted his horn, or he gave the nod, he clapped his hands, or whatever sorcery or whatever he did, he brought forth all of those enchanters. And those enchanters came, man. And he said to them, bring forth frogs upon the land of Egypt. And I'm led to believe he was cursing. He's being wicked, man. That this God may think he can back my kingdom. Probably stomped his gavel, his rod, or whatever the case may be, and had all of the land in an uproar, man, of fear. And all his sorcerers and black magic, they did exactly what he told them. And he brought forth frogs too. Now, the thing about ancient Egypt is they had two types of magic in Egypt. They had white magic and they had black magic, right? When you go into the history of ancient Egypt. Now, the dark magic or the black magic was evil, but then they had so-called their white magic that they did to so-called do good. But that's all in the spirit of Satan, because magic itself and sorcery is itself, you can't do good sorcery. Can't be Robin Hood, man. Right? You put your green thing on and you leap, or you steal from everybody and you give it over here. No, man, you got to pray to the Most High. The Most High gives the abundance. Right there, you can't use evil for good and good for evil. So there's no such thing as white magic and black magic, right? In this man's system of the ancient Egyptians, right? But his black magic he did and he used for sorcery. Now, out of this man's gods, out of ancient Egypt, you had Osiris, right? Osiris, one of Egypt's most important deities. Now, a lot of these ancient Egyptians, they had their gods on hieroglyphs, and they would embalm them, right? And wrap them up and praise them, that they may visit their ancestors and or kings to bring them presents. It says, and one of Egypt's most important deities was the god of the underworld. He also symbolized death, resurrection, and the cycle of the Nile floods that Egypt relied on for architectural fertility. So the Most High, he's smiting their gods. So not only when you look at it, the Lord's mocking and destroying their gods on top of showing signs. So just like the Lord made, like if the Lord had a sign where he came down with fire and he burned up a Christmas tree. And the Lord's showing you, look, man, this Christmas tree don't mean nothing. I'm burning down your gods also, man, in ancient Egypt. So he was the god of the underworld. He also symbolized death, resurrection, and the cycle of the Nile floods that Egypt relied on for agricultural fertility. So the Most High said, you know what, man? All your water, I'm turning that into blood. Let's see what your God can do against that. Let's see what these wicked deities may be able to come against the Most High with. When they're nothing but stone, right? Isis, right? The origins of Isis are obscure. Unlike many gods, she can't be tried to a specific town, and there are no certain mentions of her in earliest Egyptian literature. Over time, she grew importance through eventually becoming the most important goddess in the pantheon, right? As devoted wife who's resurrected Osiris after his murder and raised their sons Horus and Isis and bombed the tradition, Egypt is like an Egyptian virtues of wife and mother. So that's the god of so-called fertility and a mother and a son and bringing forth, man. Why do you have to have 3 million gods, man? Right? When you go into it, they have a lot of gods. The god of thunder, the god of water, the god of fertility, right? The god of resurrection and life and death, right? So Egypt is all jammed up with all of its gods. Now, upon no hieroglyphs, they would show these ancient Egyptians. Now, a lot of the time, these Egyptians, as you may see them pose in a certain way, they're praising a god. Like you may see us with our hands raised. You may see us with our hands closed. You may see us looking to the east. Or if somebody were to paint us, they're really looking toward praising, worshiping their false gods. Because you may see an ancient Egyptian on the left-hand side, and then you may see this bird-like creature, which is Horus, on the right-hand side. And he's showing him reverence as his god. It says Horus, depicted as a falcon or as a man with the falcon's head. That goes against 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. The Lord said there are two types of flesh, one of beasts, right, and one, right, of man. It says Horus was a sky god associated with war and hunting. He was also embalmed with the divine kingship, and some eras of his reigning, king was considered to be a manifestation of Horus. Right, so a falcon god, man. Hey, Elijah laughed at all of these gods, man, and mocked these gods. Let's go. Let me get that real fast. In the book of 1 Kings, the 18th chapter. So, I mean, it's death to Allah. And yeah, we said it. Right? It's death to Santa Claus. Right? It's death to Horus, Isis. Right? And all of these other false deities and gods that do not exist, which are a figment of your imagination, man. Death to the god of Fig. Right? Death to the Ankh, which is an embalmed relationship between a man and a woman, man. And a circle of life that continues on for eternity. We're not dealing with these false gods, man. This is the mighty book of 1 Kings. And Moses is like an ambassador for the Most High. Because he went to the king's gate, like he went to Pharaoh, and he said, let my people go, man. And not only was he going hard for the Most High and prophesying, but he let all the kingdom know he wasn't scared to die for the Most High. Whatever came with it, came with it. It's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 18, in verse number 23. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under it. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under it. And call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of Yahweh. And the God that answers by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. It says, and Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you one bullock for yourself and dress it first, for ye are many, and call in the name of your God, but put no fire under. And they took bullocks, right, and give them until they dressed it, and they called in the name of Baal from morning even unto noon, saying, Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. And they leaped upon the altar which was made. Check this out. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a God. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is on a journey, or peradventure he's sleeping and must be awakened. So Elijah is the elect, man. That's John the Baptist. He mocked their gods in their face, and the Most High called down fire from heaven, man. That's the bold like spirit. We stomp on Caesar Borgia posters, man. We don't care about the gods of Egypt and these false things that we want to burn with fire, right? We're at the God of Seth, right? Foot, Re. But I want to touch on one of Egypt's main gods, right? And I'm not going to go through all of these different gods. They have a god of a cat, Basnet, Ammon, and all these different gods. But I want to go back to Exodus chapter 8, right? In verse number 3, it says, and the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house. And your house is spiritual. Your house is really a tabernacle. The Lord sent forth spirits, which are likened unto frogs in Revelation. And they're all in your mind, hopping to and fro. Like the Lord said, a man's mind want to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit upon the tower. And into thy bed chamber, meaning thy secret parts. And upon thy bed, meaning the place where you're supposed to be getting rest and comfort, it's going to be nothing but confusion. And into thine house of thy servants. So even into men under you, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, right? And into thy kneading throughs. Right? So places where you can't even cook, you can't even get labor and things done. It says, and the frog shall come up both on thee and upon thy people and upon all thy servants. So what did the Lord do, man? Right? He brought forth confusion in high places in Egypt. Although the sorcerers did the same thing, they tried to mock the Most High and mock Moses, but the Lord brought forth more signs. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Exodus, chapter 8 and verse 16. It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, saying to Aaron, stretch out thy rod, because Aaron was Moses' prophet. Right? Let me get this real fast. Let's go to Exodus chapter 7, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. So Aaron thy brother was the mouth of Moses and was Moses' prophet. Not saying that Moses wasn't a prophet or Aaron was physically his prophet. It's saying he was his mouth. Meaning the same way the Lord prophesied it unto Moses, Moses gave it to Aaron to be his prophet, as in his voice, to be able to speak the things for they to come to pass. That thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his hand. Right? Let me go back to it. So he stretched out his rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may bring forth lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And what do lice do? Right? You have blood, which is a sign of death. You have frogs, which is confusion. You have lice. Lice irritate you. Lice brings forth more confusion than the frogs, because lice are many and more than the dust. The Lord said that he will bring forth the children of Israel, paraphrasing, like the dust of the earth. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let's bring forth the mighty book of Leviticus. Right, chapter 14. It's the mighty book of Leviticus, chapter 14, verse 41. It reads, and he shall cause the house to be scraped within, round about, that they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place, man. So, I mean, let me read this real fast. Let me read up a little bit. Let me read that. This whole thing is fire. I'm gonna start at 38. Then the priest shall go out into the house, in the door of the house, and shall shut up the house 7 days. Now, these are plagues when you read the book of Leviticus, the 14th chapter, in a house. You may have greenish, reddish stripes upon the door. The priest has to come in, he has to evaluate it. And then if it's more, you have to shut it up for 7 days, right? And try to cleanse the house. And if not, it will have to be brought forth to an unclean place. And the priest shall come again the 7th day and shall look. And this is spiritual because this is talking about your house. When you shut up that house, you're supposed to be evaluating yourself and examining yourself. Because you may have greenish and reddish stripes on your wall, you may have lust, evil, drunkenness, and strife and murder, right? You hate your brother and all type of demons, right? You got to clean that house, man. It says, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house, meaning it grows, grudge starts to grow into hatred. Hatred starts to grow into murder, right? Drunkenness grows into depression. It says, then the priest shall command that they take away the stones which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And that's spiritual too. Because the Lord said, if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. Meaning if this stone is offending you in your house, no matter what it is, maybe a person in your house, man. Maybe your child, your own flesh and blood, man. Could be your own father that's sick, right? He has no place to go. He keeps smoking crack in your house and stealing all of your money and doing all manner of things to bring forth spirit to your house. He got to go, man. It is what it is. That's the law. The Lord said, I would not be ashamed, right? I would not be ashamed of thy law, right? It says, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within, round about, and they shall pour out the dust that is scraped off without the city into an unclean place. Now, dust is likened to the things that make you sneeze. You know, dust and lice, it brings forth irritation, right? When you're going through what it is in the precepts. Let's go to the mighty book of Ezekiel, right? It's an unclean thing. Chapter 28, verse 17. Right? And it reads, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Lord said, I'm going to cast you down to the ground. What's down on the ground? Dust and dirt, man. It's a lower state. It's confusion. Right? When you're cast down to dust and dirt, that's not a good thing, man. The Lord will overthrow you, taking you down to that estate. But when you actually go into it, let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, in verse 14. Right, getting more into what the dust is, which brought forth the lice. Right, and it reads, for the hope of the ungodly is like dust that is blown away with the wind. So the Lord said, if you're ungodly, you're likened unto dust. So all of that dust that brought forth in the air turned into lice is likened unto them on one fold, but on another fold is bringing forth uncomfortable irritation. When you go into what a lice does to your hair, you scratch, you itch, you kind of going crazy, you getting a brush, it's making you irate, right? It's confusing you. The same with the frogs, but it's twice as worse. It says, for the hope of the ungodly is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin frost that is driven away with the storm, like as the smoke which disappeareth. It's like it dispersed here and there with the tempest, and passeth away as the remembrance of a guest that tarried but a day, right? Let me get another one. Now, what did the sorcerers do? The sorcerers brought forth the same exact plague as the lice. So these sorcerers, it's as if they're keeping up with the Most High and or Moses. It's like, you know what? You want to put red, I'm gonna put red. You want to put black, I'm gonna put black. You want to put white, I'm gonna put white. But it comes to a certain part where they stop keeping up because their sorcery wasn't strong enough to keep up with the spirit of the Most High. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 8 and 18. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beasts. I'm gonna read it again. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beasts. They couldn't keep up. You can't keep up with the spirit of the Most High, right? Now, these different gods that they serve, right, they have no power, but they're sacrificing unto the spiritual demon Satan, which gives them their power. Well, let me get this quick precept in the book of Habakkuk. All right, Salaki, bear with me. It's the mighty book of Habakkuk, right, chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse number 15, and it reads, it says, they take up all of them with an angle. They catch them in their net. Now, these are talking about men that catch you, right? Meaning what? The different nations. Chiefly Esau and his sorcery. They catch you in a net. It says, and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. Meaning when they capture you through lies and things of this world, they rejoice. Therefore, they sacrifice unto their net. Meaning the very thing that captures you, they sacrifice unto. We sacrifice unto God, the only living God. Now imagine if, you know, this, I don't know, let me see, what captures men? Like a pit, right? Like a net, a pit, or different things like that, a rope. They're sacrificing unto this very thing that's capturing, meaning murder, guns, gold, wealth. These things capture the souls of men and bring you into covetousness in this life. They sacrifice unto those and burn incense unto their drag. It's not talking about the sweet red incense at the gas station. Huh? Incense is going into what? A priest, a sacrifice. Every nation has a priest. Even the nations of this world, everybody has a priest. Israel isn't the only one to have priests, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. So they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations. Right? So they couldn't keep up with the God of Israel, right? And it brought forth that spirit of irritation, being uncomfortable, to the point where the Lord brought forth the next plague, which was the plague of flies. Jumping down to verse 20. And the Lord said, because, Salakia, and the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and saying to him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go that they may serve me. Else, if thou would not let my people go, behold, I will send a swarm of flies. Now, flies are symbolic of what? Being attracted to death. Anywhere you see flies, you see a dead corpse, a dead body. You see blood. You see just a spirit of death. So it's attracting, like everything is really boiling down to the spirit of death, uncomfortability, right? Depression, right? Franticness, right? Confusion. All of these different things the Lord is bringing in the midst before he actually destroys them. And that's the spirit, because the Lord will break you down slowly, man. He'll take your understanding from you, your wisdom. You don't know if you're an Israelite or not anymore. Well, my great grandfather, he was light skinned. I don't know, man. What tribe am I really from? Nobody really knows. Start waxing worse to the point where you fall right out of the truth, right back into the congregation of the dead. It says, upon thee and upon thy servants and upon thy people, into thy houses, into the houses of the Egyptians, shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereupon they are. So the Lord brought forth them swarms of flies. Now I'm going to get wisdom of Solomon, right? Chapter 16, right? Going into those swarms of flies. And flies always land on unclean things. Flies don't really, thirst after healthy things. They thirst after dead things. It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, and verse number 9. It says, "For them the biting of grasshoppers and flies killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life, for they were worthy to be punished by such." So this is going into torture also, man. Each one of these plagues is bringing forth a sense of torture, right? Now, I mean, your wife, she can't even stand a roach in the house, man, right? Or a rat or a mouse. The mouse run to the kitchen, right? Damn woman, she on top of the table, right? She screaming your name. She waking you up out of sleep, right? A roach crawl up the wall, scared to get the roach spray. Imagine if there were 500,000 roaches in your living room, man, at one time. Imagine if there was 1,000,000 flies in the bathroom with you at one time, man. Imagine the torture that these plagues brought forth, man, upon the land. Imagine if a frog, and people don't like things that are slimy and slippery. Imagine if 14,000 frogs were in your bedroom at one time, man. And they were hopping on you, they hopped on your head, they hopped on your arm. You probably would lose your mind. You can't think straight, can't use the bathroom in peace. You don't know where the toilet is. You haven't washed in days. I mean, when you gotta really make sense of it. It wasn't like, okay, it was a 30-minute torture. Now the Egyptians have peace. No, these frogs and these flies and these lice, they were continuously in this land, driving them up a wall, man. It says, "For them the biting of grasshoppers and flies killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life, for they were worthy to be punished by such." So they're worthy to be punished by all of the things that they were going through, man. When you go to Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter, the Lord said, let me get this quick precept. It's Ecclesiastes 10:1. "Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor." Meaning the apothecary is a healer. He'll bring forth herbs and different things to heal your body, right? They didn't have a CVS in the ancient world, man, or Rite Aid, right? You would go to your apothecary. He would say, you need this herb, you would need this, you would need that. Take this 2 times a day, right? Take this in this portion, mix this with water, right? Take this straight, right? And it may be strong, right? And you take it and it cleanse you and help you. It said dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. Because flies are attracted to death. And the stinking savior are the flies, because the appointment of the apothecary is supposed to smell good and help you. So doeth a little folly to him that is in reputation of wisdom and honor. So just like a man, right, that is in reputation to honor and wisdom, just a little folly to that man or habit is like dead flies is around. Because that man is supposed to be like life and health and peace as the words that he speaks. So if he has a little folly, but we're not going to read in the Bible. Abraham had a comedy show, man. Go to Moses' Laugh Fest. After Moses had done all these mighty acts, the next chapter he was in a laugh off, man. And all of the children of Israel, they came by lot, and then they came and they saw Moses perform live. That's folly, it's madness, right? These men were austere men, powerful men. So the same, that little bit of folly could bring forth and ruin a whole man's reputation. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of let me see what I want. Exodus, chapter 8, and I'm going to start at 19. Right? Salakia. I'm going to read on from there. Verse 22. "And I will serve in that day the land of Goshen, which my people dwell, that no swarm of flies shall be there, to the end that thou mayest know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth." So all of these signs and all of these wonders didn't affect the children of Israel. They only affected the Egyptians. So as the spirit of flies and death is being drawn toward Egypt, right, another plague brings forth, which is the plague of the cattle, right? And I want to dive into that. Let's go to the mighty book of Exodus chapter 9, right? Now, cattle all throughout history and in the scriptures and everyday life are brought forth for work. Right? You have work dogs, you have different animals like camels, bulls, right? Horses, plowing in a farm. Each one of these animals, even rock rollers, man. You know, in the ancient world, they were used for pulling and different things like that. Snow dogs for sleds and different things. These creatures were used for man service. They weren't just used to be wild beasts running abroad that you're scared of. Don't forget that we used to have the fear, and we still do, over all flesh. Meaning, when you enter into a room, what does that mouse do? It flees. When you go like this, or put your hand over that roach, it flees. A rabbit, you come outside, it flees. You see a deer, it looks at you, it flees. Even certain dogs, man, they'll flee. Right? But let's go to the mighty book of Exodus, right, chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 37. Right? And it reads. Salaki, that's not what I want. Salaki, bear with me. Right, it's the book of Exodus, chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle, which is in the field. Now, a field has crops in it. A field has vegetables, tomatoes, right? All things that are going to bring forth food and vegetation. Because all of the cattle, they gender and they break up the clods of the ground. Now, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book, right? Let's see. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah. Because agricultural work, you know, was very important. They didn't have machineries and things like they do now that did all the work for them. That's why our slavery was big business, man. Because who else was going to do all that physical labor besides an animal? All right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 28. And I'm going to start at verse, right, 24. Doeth the plowman plow all day to sow? Doeth he open and break the clods of the ground? When he had made plain the face thereof, doeth he not cast abroad the finches? Right, meaning the seeds. It says, when he hath made plain the face thereof, do he not cast abroad the finches? The face is the ground. You beat it up and you open it up that you may cast open, right, the seeds in, and scatter the coming, right, talking about the seeds, and cast in the principal wheat, and appoint a barley and the rye in their place. The place is in the ground, that you may cover it back up till you get the increase. For his God doeth instruct him to discretion, and doeth teach him. For the finches are not threshed with the threshing instrument, neither a cartwheel turned about with the coming. Meaning a French is threshed with a threshing instrument. But the Lord said on the deeper level, I'm the one that's giving you the increase. It's like a parable, and you could do all this physical labor, do all of this carnalness with the threshing and the seeds and all of these different instruments in a garden, but I'm the one that teacheth to thy discretion and understanding and brings forth the increase. But the finches are beaten out with a staff, and the coming with a rod. Meaning a rod and a staff, they beat the ground open. Who's doing that, man? A slave. A slave is beating open the ground with a staff and a coming and a rod. Because agricultural work, they'll have that old farmer and he'll beat that ground in. Or they'll hitch up one of those beasts, which is an oxen, and then he'll plow him And those fitches and those comings are opened up as he threshes that ground, right? It says, bread corn is bruised because he will not ever be threshing. I'm going to read it again. Bread corn is bruised because he will not ever be threshing it. You got to keep threshing it and threshing it and threshing it to break it open. Meaning what? These animals, they're used, right, to break open the ground. Now in slavery, we had to do all that by hand. Right? So if the Lord is smiting the cattle in Egypt, that's not necessarily going into their food per se, right? Even though it's touching on, seemingly going into like a famine, but it's really going into the strength of their kingdom. Because all cattle is symbolic of strength, power. It's going to keep money in the pocket of a farmer in a city. Because what if all of the farmers, the machines, your modern day ox is a machine. Because what the oxen used to do, the machines do now. What if all the machines of all the farmers and all of the society went down? The strength of that kingdom will go down also. Right? Let's go to Job chapter 21. It's the mighty book of Job. Right? Chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse 7. Right? It's the mighty book of Job, chapter 21, and verse number 7. And it reads, it says, but, Salaki. It says, wherefore doeth the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power. Their seed is established in their sight with them, their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bull gendereth. Now, the so-called white man, yeah, he has a physical bull, just like we saw. But the bull is really talking about what? The society and the strength thereof. Their machinery, right? All their power plants. All of the things that they have to keep the society flourishing with money. Their bull gendereth and faileth not. Because if the bull fails, what does that mean for the society? It says the bull faileth slacketh, bull gendereth and faileth not. Their cow claveth and casteth not her calf. Right? So that bull is really going into the strength of Egypt now going down. Right? This is the mighty book of Exodus, chapter 9, and verse number 3. Behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle, which is in the field, upon thy horses, and upon thine asses. So it could have touched any other creatures that were in Egypt. It really ain't smite all of the insects. It didn't smite all of the, I don't know, whatever other than turtle, right? It smited horses. Horses bring forth strength in war and in ground. Asses, right? Donkeys and camels and oxen, things that lay burdens. And upon the sheep, there shall be a very grievous murmur, right? A disease. It says, and the Lord shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt. Just like the Lord did between what? Jacob and Laban. Right? It says, and there shall nothing die of it, of all that is the children of Israel. So the Lord took away that. Let's go to the mighty book of 2 Maccabees. I'm going to get one more in there through the Spirit. It's the mighty book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 12, right? In verse number 10, right? And it reads, it says, now there were gone from thence 9 furlongs in their journey toward Timotheus, not fewer than 5,000 men on foot and 500 horsemen, and the Arabians set upon them. Whereupon there was a very sore battle, but Judah's side, by the help of God, got the victory, so that the nomads of Arabia, being overcome, but sought Judas for peace, promising both to give him cattle and to pleasure him otherwise. So how would these nations pleasure us? Do we want a pet goat, man, or a pet oxen? No, to get an oxen is like getting cash money, man. That's like somebody giving you a business. Like nowadays, somebody may like, yeah, I'll give you this property. Like, damn, man, property, I take that. You can keep those little, whatever case may be. I want that property, man. I want land. And he said he was going to give Judas cattle. Cattle was hard to come by. What made Abraham rich, right? When you read the book of Genesis, his cattle. Carnal paper doesn't mean you're rich. Gold is a very precious metal, but I mean, if you don't have a society to run product in, right, then you're not going to really see the genuine, flourishing of that gold and that silver. Therefore, agricultural, a mindset, slaves, cattle, that's going to have you running by yourself, right, to sustain your own wealth, a cistern, water, wells. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 13 and verse 2. And Abraham was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. Those are the chief things, and amongst his servants, the 318 armed servants. So Abraham was very rich. He had a lot of things. So if you take the strength and the structure from ancient Egypt of all of their cattle being put down, that's going to affect their food. That's going to affect their labor. It's going to affect them building. That's going to affect everything, man. Because how would you take things in and out of town? They didn't have cars and buses and planes and different things like we have now, right? They had the cattle that they would hitch on chariots and wagons, and they would bring that stuff into town, right? Let me get another one. Let's go to Sirach, chapter 7. And that's the same thing that's going to happen to America. America is going to be broken down. All of the strength in the buildings and the infrastructure is coming down. Jobs are going to be lost. It says this, Sirach 7:22. Has thou cattle? Have an eye to them. If they be for thy profit, keep them with thee. Meaning, be a righteous shepherd. Don't let your cattle just drift off, man, because that's like cash money in the bank, man. Because he has profit to you. What profits a man if he has thousands upon thousands of cattle? His whole nation and the whole Egypt. So when the Lord saw smiting down these cattle slowly and slowly, guess what, man? Egypt's taking a major hit and they're being destroyed, and all of their strength is going down with them. Let's go to the mighty book of Exodus, chapter 9 and verse number 8. Right? And it reads, and the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, take you a handful of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. So we took all of it, sprinkled it, ashes of the furnace, and this is bringing forth what? Boils. Boils is affliction, right, and a sign of torture. Right? It's going to more affliction, more affliction, more affliction going upon Egypt. Now, at this point in this time, these ancient Egyptians and their sorcerers, they couldn't keep up with the Most High. Right? But what was one of their chief gods that they sacrificed unto in ancient Egypt? I want to touch on that. Right? Kahum. Kahum. Salaka for the pronunciation, if I'm saying that wrong. But this is the ancient Egyptian god, Kahum, which is the Egyptian ram god. This is where America gets the Baphomet from. There's no such thing as Baphomet if there wasn't for Kahum, the ancient ram god of ancient Egypt. Right? Now, he's one of the earliest deities, which we know the Egyptians worship. So this is one of the first gods of ancient Egypt. And what does he represent? The ram god. Rams are always synonymously used for sacrifice. So you can't get Baphomet and the sorcery that America uses if you don't really dive into the ram god of ancient Egypt. Now, the ram god of ancient Egypt, right, is what they were sacrificing to. All right, let's see if I can get another picture. All right, which they say are the fertility gods to bring forth life. Now, the Baphomet of America, right, chiefly comes out of the ram god of ancient Egypt, but they have added more sorcery into it. Now the Baphomet is mixed in with the female and the male. And it has angel wings. And it has a star, which is a diagram where they would do sacrifices or sorcery. It has two fingers pointed up. I'm not going to do it. And they have two fingers pointed down. Now, those two fingers pointed up, it means as us above. And the two fingers pointed down meaning as of below. Right? They even have, I believe, a movie called As Above, So Below. As Yeah, they even have a movie called As Below, So Above. And this is where you really start diving into sorcery. Not that we're diving into sorcery, but like Solomon said, he gave himself the foolishness and madness, right? That he may understand what it is. Well, let me get that quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book. And you have to know evil at some type of point to know what is evil. Because if you don't know evil, you'll be in evil without knowing what evil is. You'll be in sorcery, just like we were in sorcery of the world. We thought being cool was God knows what, and gangs, violence, drug dealing, and stereotypes. We thought the image of what this society, like the Lord said, don't be conformed to this world, because this world is conforming you to the image of the beast. So you have to kind of know what in the world is going on to a certain extent. You don't want to sit up here and read dark magic books all night, because the Lord may give you over to that. But nevertheless, you want to be wise. It's the mighty book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, right? And I'm going to start at verse 25. I apply my heart to know and to seek out wisdom and the reading of things and to know the wickedness of folly. So Solomon sought out the wickedness of folly. Not that he was in dark magic, but he sought it out. Now. You know, why do I always say God bless you when somebody sneezes? Where is that in the Bible? Well, why do I have the pledge of allegiance? Or why do I? You got a sequel. I mean, why is this? Man? What's the origin of this? Why do I say this so much? Why is it everybody's accustomed to doing this and doing? You got to seek out certain things, even of foolishness and madness. So he sorted out, man, out of all his searching and his wisdom. So as he's searching out these things, he found out what was true evil in the eyes of God. Now, like I said, when you go into it, it says, as above, so below. Meaning what? When you're really going into it, it's going into this diagram. Because that triangle that a lot of brothers kind of look at as the Star of David and certain things like that. Now, you could wear, if you're representing, the lily, but a lily doesn't have these holes in it. And the thing that you kind of look at in this diagram, it's really demonic. Right? But this is the as above and so below. Meaning it's changing good into evil and evil into good and changing up the image of the Most High and sorcery. Like the Lord said, they change night into day in the book of Job. Let me get that real fast. It's the book of Job, chapter 9, verse number 12. They change the night into day. And then it's nighttime, but they change it to light. So when it's true evil and it's nighttime, they make it as if it's daytime. The light is short because of darkness. Meaning the true light of this world is short and very narrow to see because of all the darkness that's spread abroad in it. Right? Now, I want to touch on what this means. Now, this snake entwined into two is where you get your medicine signed from by the ambulance. Let's go into ancient Greece. I mean, when you dissect this, the angel, so like the wings represent an angel or a light from the heavens, as if he's a fallen angel with some light of hope. The Baphomet head goes back to Egypt as a ram god. The two fingers pointing up and two fingers pointing down low is as above, so below, which is a demonic symbol, right? In diagram. So like, let me see if I can close up. Up on his head right here, and above his head, which is a circle, is where you get your halos and things from. Right? And he's half man, half beast, which is bred in nothing but confusion. Now, when you go into the two kinds of magic in ancient Egypt, you have, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Bear with me. It says in ancient Egypt and in other ancient cultures, right, there were believed to be two kinds of magic: protective, beneficial magic, or white magic, and harmful, negative, black magic, which could come in the form of curses and hexes. When magic beneficial is typically used to heal and protect. Because a lot of people, they use magic, even though it's sorcery in ancient Egypt and in other different cultures, they use it to heal, or, you know, they blowing this and this will heal you in 2 days. And they use sorcery, but they're so-called using it for good. It could also be used to cast love spells, protect young children, or a woman in childbirth. Like they may sprinkle that stuff before your door in the south, right? That white powder, and if you're evil, you can't come in. And it's all sorcery, but in their minds, it's good sorcery. Or accompany a dead, dying person in his journey through the underworld. However, people also use magic in a harmful way. Direct against one's enemies, a curse, hex, or personal kind of voodoo. Most Egyptian deities use magic are protective deities. Particular objects, especially amulets, could be charged with magic were believed to attract, right, Bernin forces of ward off evil spirits. Black magic or necromancy was also practiced, but it was widely through the magic would come back to bite a person in some form of karma when used with malevolent intentions, right? Then you have the Book of the Dead when you dive into Egypt. Now, Egypt, it pulls a lot of people in because, you know, trying to watch what I say carefully. You can bring forth something from evilness. You know, even Yahweh was tempted by Satan that he would be able to get all the kingdoms of the earth. So by worshiping the spiritual demon Satan, you can receive a reward, right? You can receive benefits by selling your soul, right? Just like Cain did. Let's go to Numbers. That's why people are attracted, because you can sin, you can smoke, you can drink, and you still can receive the benefits of worshiping a God somewhat and getting the fruit of what you pray for. You could pray for what? A good job, right? You fasted, read, threw up all of the blessings to the Most High. You still ain't see a job in 3 weeks. Like somebody can worship the spiritual demon Satan, offer up sacrifices, a seance, cut blood, and see it that very night. Both you're going to see the fruit of what it is that you're looking for, but one is evil and one is righteous. The decision is yours, though. One can bring you death in the end, in a life where you feel like you're getting all the rewards. But like the Lord said, I'm thinking of too many precepts. Let me get Matthew real fast, chapter 10, verse 32. Right? It says, whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, and men deny the Most High that they may trust in the things of this world, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. So don't deny the Most High by receiving benefits of this life through worshiping false gods. But nevertheless, these false gods, right, through dark magic and sorcery, will give you the things that you're looking for. Right, it's the mighty book of Numbers, chapter 22. Right, I'm gonna start at 13. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the prince of Balak, get you to your land, for the Lord refused to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Balak, Salaki of Moab, rose up, and they went into Balak and said, Balaam refused to come with us. I mean, he not coming, man. And Balak sent yet again princes and more honorable than they. So now they're starting to press them out. You know what? We need you, man. We need you to come. Now, Balaam, right, was a known sorcerer, right? He was a necromancer and an enchanter. And as Balak knew this, which was over the Moabites, he said, you know what? I can't beat Israel. So how can I come up against Israel? I can't beat them in war. I can't beat their God. What am I going to do but use sorcery against them? It says, verse 16, and they came to Balaam and said unto him, thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me, for I will promote thee unto very great honor. Meaning what? He can give him his dreams, all of the riches. I mean, to a man that's in the flesh, that's going to seem good. And I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. Meaning whatever it is you want, gold, women, a high stature of authority, whatever it is, I'm going to give it to you. Just like Nebuchadnezzar wanted Daniel to be one of his sorcerers, per much, right? Because he beat all of those dreamers and those men and those different spirits that they were worshiping to be able to interpret their dream. That's why he wanted to promote him unto honor the way he did. But nevertheless, Daniel didn't want the gold chain. He didn't care about the gold and the promotions. He just wanted to follow the Most High, have a good name. Right? Let me go back to it. Right, this is the book, right, of Exodus, right, chapter 9, and I want to start at verse 8 again. The Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, take ye a handful of ashes and furnace, and let it sprinkle toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh, and it shall become small as dust in the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blands upon man and upon beasts throughout all the land of Egypt. That's even more torture. What happened to Job when Job was catching hail, man? Job's skin broke forth through boils. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 2 and verse 7. It says, so Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. Check that out, man. So the first thing Satan did unto Job was smote his flesh. Made him to where he was uncomfortable, right? He was agitated. He was getting tortured. And these are the things that came upon you when the spiritual demon Satan hit Job. That's the same spirit that was upon ancient Egypt. What did the Lord say in the book of Revelation, the 16th chapter? What's going to be likened unto those bombs hitting the flesh of man? They're going to be likened unto boils. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 16 and 2. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sword upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. So everybody's going to get tortured, annoysome, and grievous sore. And all of those things are going to come upon them. Now, when you go to Exodus chapter 9 and verse 11, it says, and the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils was upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians. So like it was upon the magicians and all the Egyptians. So they couldn't stand before. Their gods that they were serving couldn't stand before the Most High. Nothing they worship could stand before the Most High. Right? Now, I want to go real fast into the Book of the Dead for edification's sake. Now, like I said, all of these Egyptians in here are all worshiping gods. It's as if they're in a temple. Right? And these are their ancient gods that they're worshiping. Right? Egyptology is nothing but sorcery and dark magic. It says in her 2000 book, Religion and Magic in Ancient Egypt, Rodell Davis describes the Book of the Dead as containing spells that provided magical measure to ensure the resurrection of the deceased and his safety in the next world. So while we're sacrificing unto the Most High in righteousness, hoping to get a resurrection, Allah, the Arabians, they're blowing up with evil that they may receive 10 virgins of heaven, that they may receive something by their gods. Right? This dark magic and this sorcery and potions and things that they're accumulating and making, they're doing it that in the next life, in the next world. A lot of these nations, they believe in gods and the next world and seemingly something of what the scriptures say, but their spirit can't get down with the light of God. That's why they see it in the dark. Ultimately, the spells were intended to guide a dead person through the dark or underworld. Magic was necessary to protect from demons. The Most High is necessary to protect from demons. Evil Egyptian deities and dangerous present in the underworld. Right? And we're not, like I said, we're not going to read all of this, but that's a whole different cold cut and breakdown and dive into all of these Egyptian gods and the meaning of all these Egyptian gods. How all of these spirits of ancient Egypt are in America and what they teach. Right, let's go back to it. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Exodus. Right, chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse number 18. Right, and it reads, it says, behold, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, and such as have not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof, even unto now. Send therefore now and gather thy cattle, and all that thou hast in the field, upon every green, so like upon every man and beast which thou shalt be found in the field, and it shall not be brought home, and the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die. He that feareth the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses. So, I mean, what was this hail mingled with fire? What was this really a symbolic of? We'll read it again. It says, so like I'm going to read verse 18. Behold, tomorrow about this time, I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as has not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof, even unto now. Send therefore now and gather thy cattle, and all that thou hast in the field, for upon every man and beast which thou shalt be found in the field, and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die. So this is going to take down all of their crops, all of their vegetation. You have the strength of Egypt. Their source of food. And right after the hail, you have the locusts, which came and cleaned up and made a famine. So it already destroyed the food, and whatever that was left upon the field, the locusts came and the locusts ate. So a famine came upon Egypt also. Now let me get a quick precept. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, Salakia, chapter 19 and 19. Salakia, 16 and 16. That's what I want. Right, and it reads, it says, for the ungodly that denied to know thee, right, through their pride, were scourged by the strength of thine arm, with strange rains, hails, and showers. They were persecuted, right, those men that stood out there, that they could not avoid. And through fire they were consumed. So they got burnt down, for which is most to be wondered at. The fire had more force in the water that quencheth all things, for the world fighteth for the righteous. Right, I'm gonna read it again. For which is most to be wondered at. Meaning, what's more confounding? The fire had more force in the water. Meaning, the water really is going to take out the fire. I mean, if you have a fire and then you have water and you mix the water is going to take out the fire, right? But it says the fire had more force in the water, right? Meaning that flame was a heavenly flame sent down. It wasn't, even though they were mingled together in the air, it didn't take out the fire as it hit the ground. They were mingled together to do more destruction. It says, which quencheth all things, for the world fighteth for the righteous. For some time the flame was mitigated, that it might not burn up the beasts that were sent against the ungodly, but themselves might see and perceive that they were persecuted. So the Most High still giving them in measure an opportunity to let thy people go. Hey, but they didn't want to hear that. They still wanted to continue to have us in bondage and affliction. You know, let me get this quick precept. All right, this is the mighty book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12. And I'm gonna start it on. This whole thing is fire. So I'm gonna read it all. Verse 17. For when men would not believe that thou art of a full power, thou shewest thy strength. Meaning, when you don't think the Most High is who he actually is, that's when the Most High really gonna show you, I'm the Most High God of all the earth. And among them that know it, thou makest their boldness to manifest. Meaning, Elijah knew that the Most High was the Most High, but his boldness manifested even more when he called fire down from heaven, right through the hour of prayer. It says, but thou mastering thy power, judgeth with equity, and orderest us with great favor, for thou mayest use thy power when thou wilt. Meaning, the Most High is not a God like man. Man uses his power all the time. What did you say? Who gonna do what? Like, don't give a Negro a gun, man. Right? Or a man make him the president of the United States. Or give him $1 trillion. See how he'll act. No, the Most High orders all things. Right? He masters his power with judges with equity, meaning with equality, and orders us with great favor. Right? Meaning the Most High is going to put you and order you and place you with favor upon you, that thou mayest use thy power when thy will. Meaning the Lord not using his power all the time. The Lord could have just smashed out on the ancient Egyptians immediately and destroyed them all with the death of the firstborn. But the Most High didn't do that. By measure he judges. It says, but by such works hast thou taught thy people that the just man should be merciful, and has made thy children to be of good hope, that thou givest repentance for sins, right? Talking about Israel. Check this out. For if thou didst punish the enemies of thy children, and the condemned to death, such as deliberately, giving them time and place whereby they might be delivered from their malice, with how great circumspection didst thou judge thine own sons, whose Slakia unto whose fathers thou didst sworn and made a covenant, right, of good promises. Right? So the Most High, right, he has mercy on us, but with the other nations, he destroys them. Right? Let's go back to it. Let me get one more now. Let's get the mighty book of Revelation. Right, chapter 18. Slakia, chapter 8 and 7. That's what I want. It's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 8 and verse 7. And this is the same thing that happened, right? What that's going to happen, rather, when you read the book of Revelation, that hell mingle of fire was going to come down, which is talking about World War III and the thermonuclear missiles and warheads that are coming. And it says, and the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood that were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees were burnt up. A third part is completion. The trees is talking about man. You have trees, grass, lilies, plants, vineyards. All of these things are symbolic garden for man. And all green grass was burnt up. Meaning the same way of World War III, you can't tell me that America is in Egypt. Because why in the beginning of the book, it's coming with the same spirit and the same plagues is happening at the end of the book. But at the end of the book, it's going more on nuclear destruction. The beginning was the signs and wonders to destroy and break down ancient Egypt. In the same way the Lord broke down ancient Egypt in measure is how he's breaking down America in measure. The Lord could have been destroyed this place. But he's doing it that man may wake up and see his signs and his wonders. Because it's not like the Most High is trying to, strengthen himself up to destroy. He's long forbearing and patient. Let me get that real fast, right? It says, let me go back to it. Let me read that again. The latter part. And the third part of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. Now the grass on the agricultural level is going into vegetation and health and things for you to eat and structurize and continue to grow in that society, right? But that's going into man in Revelation. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Exodus, right, chapter 10. Let me get this quick precept. So right after the hell mingle with fire, comes the locusts. And locusts are parabolic with a famine each and every time you read the scriptures. It's the book, right, of Exodus, chapter 10. And I'm going to start, and this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 3. And Moses and Aaron came into Pharaoh and said unto him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me. How much more do you have to be tortured? How much more do you have to go through pain and alienation? Else if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow I will bring the locusts into thy coast. Now, if you know anything about locusts, they come in bands. They come deep when they come. Let me see. You see a band of locusts, you're going to see an army of locusts. And as they come, they're not coming 3 or 4 of them, maybe hundreds of thousands of them, millions of them. And look at this, man. You can't even see the sky. They'll cover up man. It's so many of them. So the Lord said, look, I'm going to bring upon you locusts upon thy coast. Let's go to Amos chapter 7 and verse 1. It's the mighty book, Amos chapter 7 and verse number 1. Thus saith the Lord, right? Slakia, thus have the Lord shewed unto me, and behold, he formed grasshoppers in the beginning of the shooting up of the latter growth, right? So beginning of the shooting up of the latter growth is going into what? The harvest. It's shooting up the latter growth of it. And lo, it was the latter growth after the king's moan. And it came to pass that it's like when they had made and end up eating the grass of the land, then I said, O Lord God, forgive, I beseech thee, by whom Jacob arise, for he is small. So if the hailming with fire already took down the grass and destroyed all of the strength of the cattle that was left, of the strength of Egypt, now how much more the locust coming up and cleaning up whatever the fire mingled, right, with hail didn't destroy. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Amos, the 4th chapter. It's Amos chapter 4, right? And I'm going to start. This whole thing is fire. Verse 9. I have smitten you with blasting and mildew when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased. The palmer worm devoured them. So the palmer worm, right, the locust, right, all of these different creatures are to destroy vegetation. It says, yet have ye not returned unto me, saith the Lord. Right? Let's get 1 Kings. Because that's how the Lord judges a land. Right? He'll use those cattle. So like he'll use those locusts. It's 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 37. It says, if there be in the land famine, if there be pestilent, blasting mildew, locusts, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be. So the Lord said, look, this is how I'm going to get up with you. I'll either use a caterpillar, I'll use a locust, right? I'll use all of these different things of plaguing you. It says, what prayer and supplication whosoever be made by any man, or by all thy people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hand toward his house, then hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and do and give to every man according to his ways. Right? It says, whose heart thou knowest, for thou, even thou only, knowest the hearts of the children of men. So that's how the Most High judge you. Those caterpillars, those different things, they'll eat that up. Right? Let's go to Judith chapter 2 and verse 20. And it's also likened it to an army. Right? This is the mighty book, right, of Judith chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse number 20. It says, a great number also sun-dried countries came with them, like locusts. So locusts is like coming so deep, it's like an army, like all of a military force, and like the sand of the earth, for the multitude was without number. Just like locusts is without number, man. You can't number the locusts. The locusts will swarm over you and devour you. Right, let me get this quick precept. Right, it's the book of Proverbs, chapter 30. Right, and I'm going to start at 27. The locusts have no king, yet go they forth, all of them by bands, meaning by armies. So these armies of locusts come up upon thy coast to cover the face of the earth, and they're going to destroy all the residue and everything that remained of the green vegetation, bringing forth a famine upon the land of Egypt. It says, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. And they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, meaning remained out of the hell of fire, which remaineth unto you from the hell, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. So let's take this into perspective. You have no more water, right? You're sitting up there, you're catching hail, lice and frogs are everywhere. You can't get a cold glass of water to drink. Neither is there any food. It took all of the beasts that are filled away, and all of the green vegetation is gone. So now from this point on, they're no longer eating. And each day they're waxing worse and worse and worse in this land, to the next plague, which is the plague of darkness. Now, when the plague of darkness hit the earth, right, just like in America, you have this economy, which is the cattle and the bull that gendereth, it's going to go down. And as it goes down, you see affliction that's coming right along with it. Right? You see affliction coming along with it. Then out of that, you see locusts, you see a famine, everybody rushing for food. Then you see darkness and evil just grossing upon the earth, where in those days, there's going to be no more word of God in the streets. No more prophets. No more men shaking the hand. No more internet. That darkness was physical in the land of Egypt that you physically couldn't see. But this darkness is going to be more like spiritual right upon this earth. Now, even though all of the lights and the power grid by an EMP attack may happen and take out all of the lights, you're still going to have the sun and the moon, right? It was so darkness. The Lord said it's a darkness, right, that may be felt in the land of Egypt. In the book of Exodus, chapter 10 and verse 21, right? Look at this, man. Imagine coming outside and not seeing anything. Right? You cut the lights off too long and people go insane. They put them in a insane asylum, right? Or they lock them up in solitary confinement and they're in this room and it's dark. And they'll put you in there for 2 weeks. Imagine being in there for 2 weeks, man. The only light you see is when they open up that little flap and toss your food to you. And when they toss your food to you, you can't find it. You got to go like this in the room, right? Till you finally find it. And when you finally find the food, you barely can eat. And then when you eat, you toss your food to the side. It's feces all on the floor, right? You're sitting around, you don't know your left hand from your right hand, right? You're trying to break out, hit your head against the wall. But not only that, imagine the creatures, the beasts, the noises, the cries, the hand slaps, the touches on your arm out of nowhere, right? Breathing down your neck, and all these different things that you may witness in the dark. And Jake be scared of the dark and don't nothing be in the dark. Imagine if all your lights in your room went out and there's 15 people in your room. Somebody breathing hard, somebody coughing, somebody behind you. Right? That'll turn your mind insane. When the Lord had that plague of darkness hit upon his land, right? Let's get it. Let's go to the book, right, of Exodus chapter 10, verse 21. Right? And it reads, it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt. And that's spiritual. You stretch your hand and you pray towards the Most High. And that's even in Iraq. The Lord told you to pray for destruction upon your enemies. Well, let me get that real fast. You stretch your hand toward the Most High, and these mighty works are going to come about. All right, this is the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 36 and verse number 2. Let's start at 1. Have mercy upon us, O Yahweh, of all, and behold us, and send thy fear upon all the nations that seek not after thee. So Moses represents the law and he represents the elect, right? And as Moses stretched forth his hands into heaven, darkness came upon him. The same way when you start to pray to the Most High and you're supposed to wish death upon your enemies. Now that's not in Christianity, right? Now people, oh, that's evil, that's mean, right? Hey, the Most High is a God of war, man. The Lord is commanding you to do this. What did they do in 2 Maccabees? Didn't they have the same spirit that prayed that destruction comes upon their enemies? Let me find that precept. Salaki, bear with me. I want to find that quick precept. 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees, chapter 1 and 27. It says this. It says, gather those together that are scattered from us, and deliver them that serve among the heathen. This is a prayer. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our God. These what the men of God are praying. I mean, you pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but you also got to pray for destruction. It says, punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. It says, plant thy people again in thy holy place, as Moses had spoken. Well, I'm not going to read all of this, but these what the men of God and warriors and men pray for, along with health, love for their brethren, to be given arms and, you know, a spirit of love and compassion to your people, amongst other things, but don't have too much of one and not the other. So when you go back to Sirach, it says, lift up thy hand against strange nations and let them see thy power. So that's the same thing Moses did. He lifted and stretched out his hand toward heaven, that the Most High may destroy with darkness all of their enemies with confusion. It says, over the land of Egypt, it's like in Egypt, even darkness, right, which may be felt. When it says darkness that may be felt, then you're going to feel it. Not that you physically grabbed it, but darkness that may be felt, like you feel how dark it is. Like it's a feeling, like a spirit, how dark it is. And Moses stretched forth his hands toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. 3 is a number of completion. Now, upon the last days upon earth, the Lord said that it's going to be darkness upon the earth, right? And the sun is going to go down. You're not going to be able to see, right? And it's going to be gross darkness upon all the face of the earth. That's the same spirit that's going to happen in America that's happening in ancient Egypt. It's the mighty book of Isaiah chapter 60 and verse number 1. It says, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Check that out. So the Lord is telling you, plain upon tables, that in the last days, darkness is going to cover the earth to the point where you're not going to be able to see. That's not physical, that's spiritual. You're not going to be able to see the things you once could and have the opportunity that you once had. Things are going to be dark and gloomy before the coming and the day of the Lord. That's even in the book of Zephaniah chapter 1, right in verse 14. And it reads, for the great day of the Lord is near. So before Yahushua hopped off that throne, which is the next plague, which is the death of the firstborn, darkness came. The Lord said the great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hasting greatly, meaning it's about to come. So what happens before the Lord comes? Even the voice, right, of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble, a day of distress, a day of wastefulness and desolation, a day of darkness. So before the day of the Lord comes, you have darkness that hits the earth. Why? Because it's perfect the way the Most High writes everything. Because in the midst of darkness, you see the light. You see Yahushua. And that's the spirit, because all the nations of the earth shall mourn when they see the Son of Man. Not that the earth is physically going to be midnight black and Yahushua is going to physically be some light that's shining, but it's parabolic to there's no hope, there's no salvation, there's nothing to guide us in these days. What should we do? And then you see the Lord. The Lord says, as the lightning that shineth from the east even unto the west, so should the coming of the Son of Man be. And lightning shines at night. So it's spiritual that the Lord is saying, so it's just like the lightning is shining. Lightning don't shine in the day. It strikes at night. In the midst of darkness, you see the light. That's how you're going to see the Lord in the darkness, and it's going to emerge as light. Right, let me get that real fast in Matthew chapter 24. Right? It's the mighty book, right, of Matthew chapter 24 and 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. I mean, it's not going to be hard to see the Lord, man. You don't have to guess, is he in the cave? Is he on earth? Right? Is he down or over here in the East Coast? Is he on the West Coast? You know, somebody came to me that said the Lord is in the desert. He shall become. No, as soon as you can see the lightning from the east all the way to the west, you're going to also see the coming of the Son of Man, because the Lord is going to emerge out of darkness into the light. Right? And I want to get one more, maybe two more on that real fast. Is that 2 Chronicles 6? Let's see. Somebody bear with me. It's 2 Chronicles 6 and verse 1. Then says Solomon, the Lord have said he would dwell in the thick darkness. So the Lord comes out of the darkness. He's dwelling in a thick darkness and is going to emerge as the light. Let me get one more in that, John chapter 8. It's John chapter 8 and verse, right? 12. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So he's the light. So in the midst of the darkness and the signs and the plagues, there's going to emerge the light. Right, let me get one more in that. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Right, and it reads in verse 4. But ye brethren, be not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. The Lord says he's coming as a thief in the what? In the night. So the same way the Lord speaks about these things, it's the same spirit in ancient Egypt. You can't tell me that death angel isn't the Lord, when all throughout the scriptures, the Lord's coming at night. He's like a thief in the night. He's dwelling out of dark. He's dwelling in the darkness, emerging in the light. Right? He is the light of the world. Well, what would the sense be is he's the light if there's already light in the world? It's spiritual, meaning this place is full of darkness. And then there's going to be gross darkness on top of that in the days to come. It says, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others. Because people of this world, they sleep at nighttime, right? And everybody's walking around asleep. But let us watch and be sober. And we watch as watchmen upon a high tower in the midst of darkness and night until we see the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, right? Let me go back to it. Let's get the mighty book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17. Right, and it reads, and this whole account is crazy. It's fire. Right, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17 and 2. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation, right, they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness. So the Lord said that they were prisoners of darkness. They couldn't escape the darkness. And fettered with the bonds of a long night, laid their exile from the eternal province. For while they supposed the light hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness. And that's scary. The Lord said the Lord scattered a spirit upon them where they would forget the things that they did. And I touched on that early on, right in the lesson. But that's scary, man. And a lot of people forget the things that they do. They do them over and over and over. But imagine forgetting all of the plagues and all of the torture and continuously having a mindset to kill Israel and not let them go. Being horribly astonished and troubled with strange admirations. Admiration is like seeing a vision, and strange admirations. It says, for neither might the counter that held them keep them from fear, but noises as waters falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them. So as it was nighttime and dark, they saw sad visions, man. You know when you watch a scary movie, you always see some type of creature, old man, evil witch, clown, or some type of demon in the dark. And it's always like with a vision or some type of thing. You may see him eating a dead body, right? You may see him laughing in the corner. You may see him chuckling under your bed. You may see your arm slip right back under your bed. You may look up, look down, look up, look down. You see some feet, right? The Lord said he was giving them sad admirations and strange visions, man. It says with heavy countenances. So the Lord was all in their mind, in their thoughts, corrupting their mind and their soul. It says no power of fire might give them light. So none of the magicians through their sorcery or anything could kindle a light to be able to shoot them light in the path that they should go. Showing you what? The The Lord said in the book of Job, chapter 18 and verse 5, the light of the candlestick of the wicked shall be put out. Let me get that real fast. And once it's put out, it's gone. You can't see. It's no more hope for this society and this person. It's Job chapter 18 and verse number 5. Right? And it reads, yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. So the Egyptians are nothing more, right, than Esau, right, in the spirit. It's like you have Cain and Abel, you have Jacob and Esau, right? You have these spirits that are similar as you read the scriptures. It says, neither could the bright flames of the stars endure to lighten that horrible night. Meaning the darkness covered the sky and blocked all of the stars that never ceased from their watches. Only there appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself, very dreadful, for being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the sight which they saw not. Right, and it was only that light which was kindled was the children of Israel. That's what that's talking about. Let's read it. Right? It's the book of Exodus, chapter 10, verse 23. And they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So, I mean, the Israelites had light, while the ancient Egyptians, they were blackened out by the darkness of night. Only there appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself, very dreadful, for being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the sight which they saw not. They saw not. So their mind was jammed up, and it was all over the place, man. They think the things that they saw was worse than the stuff that they saw not, and they were hearing stuff, they were bugged out. Right? Imagine a grown man, an Egyptian man, just screaming and yelling, his ponytail flickering in the wind, right? He's scrolling on his long, stringy, disgusting chin hair. Wow, let me get that real fast. He was just groping his chin hair in the dark, man, like a creep. I'm led to believe he was groping it in the dark. He didn't know where to go. He was calling on his gods, Osiris, Isis, Foot, Ram God. You know, when Jake get nervous, they bite their nails, or, you know, people get nervous, you know, they do stuff. Like they were probably bent down in the dark, playing with that hair, that long hair, that long, stringy hair. Right? Right? An Egyptian probably ran past, smacked one of them. Right? It says, let me read that again. It says, as for the illusion of art magic, they were put down, and their vaunting in wisdom was reproved with disgrace. For they that promised to drive away terrors, meaning the ancient sorcerers, they promised to drive away terrors and troubles from a sick soul, were sick themselves, feared, worthy to be laughed at. And the Lord said he had them so scared you could laugh at him. And I'm not even trying to be funny, man. Like that's what the Lord is saying. Were sick themselves, worthy to be laughed at, man. They probably was feces in their pants, screams, yells, right? They probably unbraided that. They said this ain't working, man. They probably unbraided their damn chin hairs, man. Right? They did everything they possibly could think of, right? And the Lord said they were worthy to be laughed at, man. When I seen this one video, it was this Elamite. He was about to get killed by this tiger, man. And he was going like this, like to throw up his prayers, but he did it in such a funny way. Right? I doubt I'll be able to find that. Let me see if I can find this real fast. If I can, I can. Oh, Salaki. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. But it was this East Indian. He was bowing down. There you go, right here. Right now, this has a check mark, verified. I don't know if they'll take down the video. But nevertheless, it says white tiger kills a man who fell into an enclosure at the Lice Zoo. Well, you might could check that out on your own. But he was kind of like doing his dance. Hold on, let me see if I could play it real fast. So these nations are worthy to be laughed at, like the Lord said, man. Let's see if I can find it. He's showing me things I don't want to see. I don't know if you can see that, but he was in there throwing up his strange gods and his handshakes while the tiger was playing with him. So the tiger playing with him, nevertheless, and the Lord said, let me go back to it. It says in the mighty book of Exodus, the 17th chapter. Let me go back to it. And let me know if brothers can see the screen. All right, Shalaki, bear with me. Give me a strong comment if you can see the screen now. All right, we back to it through the spirit. It says, for they thought no terrible thing did fear them, yet being scared with beasts that passed by and hissing of serpents, they died for fear, denying that they saw the air, which could no side be avoided. For wickedness condemned their own witness, and is timorous, and being pressed with conscience, always forecast grievous things. For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the security, which reason offereth, and the expectation within being less counteth, right? The ignorant more than the cause which bringeth the torment. But they sleeping the same sleep that night, which indeed intolerable. And that's scary too, because when you wake up, you know it's the daytime. Now, if you shut off all the lights in your room, in your house, and you wake up, you don't know if it's 12 o'clock. You don't know if it's 1 o'clock. You don't know if it's 3. Should I be awake? Should I be asleep? I mean, the plague of the mind is a very serious plague, man. You don't always have to get tortured physically to be tortured, man. A woman will torture you, or a man will torture you. They keep cheating on you, or beating you physically, or doing some mind control, or these things are serious. and which came upon them out of the bottoms of the invincible hell, right? Which partly vexed with mischievous admirations, and partly fainted with their heart failing them. So they would catch a heart attacks out there. For a sudden fear and looked for came upon them. So then, whosoever there fell down straightly kept shut up in a prison without iron bars. Meaning, no matter where they went and ran to, it was as if they were in a prison because they couldn't get out of that darkness. For whether they were a husbandman or a shepherd or a laborer in the field, he was overtaken and endured that necessity that cannot be avoided, for they were all bound with one chain of darkness. Whether it were a whistling wind or a melodious noise of birds among the spreading branch of a pleasant fall of water running down violently, or a terrible sound of stones cast down, man. So it was as if it was an earthquake going on, right? Imagine 15 boulders just start pounding down right in front of you, man. You outside trying to find your house. It says, or a running that cannot be seen of skipping beast. You all type of gazelles, zebras, right? Crocodiles, creatures, or a roaring voice of the most savage wild beasts, lions, or a rebounding echo from a hollow mountain. Help, 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 help. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Ain't like you could find me. Ain't like you could find me. All hell was breaking loose down there. They was echoing, hearing stuff, hearing voices in the east, voices in the west. These things made them to swoon for fear. It says, for the whole world shine with clear light. Meaning everywhere other than Egypt shine with light. And none were hindered in their labor. Over them only was spread in heavy night an image of that darkness, which had afterward received them. But yet they themselves most grievous than the darkness. Meaning the darkness was grievous, but they became more grievous than the darkness. Meaning like a woman. Like a woman to see a spider and, oh, it's going to get me. And then she'll run and she might hop off the balcony, man. You know, a spider may be coming, but the spider is really going to his web. It's minding his business. The spider has no intentions of taking you down. The spider is just going for his food that he had laid up in the cut somewhere. But you're more grievous than the vision or what you see, right? Meaning they were freaking out and complaining and going off more than the things that actually was plaguing them. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Exodus, right? Chapter 11 and verse number 1. Now the death of the firstborn is spiritual, right? This is the book of Exodus chapter 11 verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh. So I want to just bring something out real fast before I go through that. Right? In Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. Right? And I want to get Revelation. Right? Let's see what I want. 19. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fine. I'm going to start at, I'm going to start at 17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great day of God. So this is when the Lord is coming in the armies of heaven, and all of the armies, which are 10,000 times 10,000, even thousands of thousands of angels that are coming. Right now, I'm going to jump down to verse number 7 in Revelation, chapter 1 and 7. And behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. So when the Lord comes, every eye is going to see him. Right? Them thousands upon thousands of angels are going to come. And as the Lord comes, he's jumping off that throne. Right? This is the mighty book, right, of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18. And I'm going to start right at verse number 14. It says, for while all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course. So while all hell was breaking loose in the midst of silence and darkness of the night, thine almighty word leaped down from heaven. The almighty word is talking about Yahweh Shah. He's the word of God. That's John chapter 1 and verse 1. Out of thy royal throne, because he sits on the right hand of the Most High, as a fierce man of war, into the midst of a land of destruction. It says a land of destruction because why? The plagues have slowly destroyed this land from the time of the blood to the time of the death of the firstborn, and brought thy unframed commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death. And it touched the heaven, but it could not stood upon the earth. Then suddenly the visions of horrible dreams troubled them sore, and terrors came upon them, right, unlooked for. And one thrown here, and another thrown, Slakia, and another there, half dead, shewed the cause of his death. For the dreams that troubled them therefore shew this, lest they should perish, and not know why they were afflicted. Yea, the tasting of death touched the righteous also. Therefore, Slakia, there was a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness, but the wrath endured not long. For then the blameless man made haste and stood forth to defend them, and bring the shields of his proper ministry, even prayer and appropriation of incense, set himself against the wrath, and so brought the calamity to an end, declaring that he was thy servant. Talking about what? Yahweh Shai hopping off of the throne as a fierce man of war, right? That the ancient Egyptians might know through the visions that they had, which was going to come to pass, the destruction of the land, and the Lord opening up their mind to understand all of this was foreshadowing that you should have let his people go. The Lord finally revealed and took off that dark lever that they may understand all of the wickedness and all of the plagues and the things that they were doing to the children of Israel all this time. And Moses made haste, which was that blameless man that stood, and the proper things for his ministry, which was prayer to the Most High, right? An appropriation of incense, set himself against the wrath, right? Meaning a sacrifice, right? And brought the calamity to an end, right? Declaring that he was thy servant, right? Now let me go to the book of Exodus, chapter 11, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, yet will I bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward, he will let you go hence. Because the Lord took away that veil from away their eyes, that they may understand all the things that they were doing. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave to the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. So how fast could the Lord make an enemy? How fast could the Lord make somebody giving you gold and silver, man? That's why when you think about getting fired from a job or persecution or violence of this world or an enemy, how soon the Most High can take that spirit, right, away from that person, man, and turn it into mildness and turn it into things that, you know, are a thing of the past, right? This is the mighty book of Additions to Esther, chapter 15, verse 7. Then lifting up his countenance that shewed with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her. Talking about Esther. Now the king could have slayed Esther if he wanted to, if the Most High allowed him to. And the queen fell down and was pale, and she was scared, and fainted, and bowed herself upon the head of the maiden that went before her. Then God changed the spirit of the king into mildness. And the Lord changed the spirit of these ancient Egyptians into favor before the children of Israel. It says, into mildness, who in a fear leaped from his throne, right? And took her in his arms till she came to herself again and comforted her with loving words and said unto her. So the Lord will take your enemy and make them yield unto you. You understand? It's the book of Exodus, right? Chapter 11 and verse number 3. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great, right, in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. Now, what does the death of the firstborn mean spiritually? When you go to the book of Numbers, the 3rd chapter, and you go to the book, right, of Exodus, the 13th chapter, the firstborn is always consecrated, or the male that's the firstborn is always consecrated to the Most High. Right? That's a very, very high thing that we did in the ancient world, was consecrate the male. What happened to Samuel? When Samuel was born, he was consecrated unto the Most High, right? It's the book of Exodus, chapter 13. Yahushua was the firstborn, right, on earth amongst all of his siblings. And he's the firstborn of every creature. He's consecrated unto the Most High. Samuel was consecrated unto the Most High, right? Every male, right, is consecrated unto the Most High. Even the firstborn of Israel, not Reuben, but Levi, which became the firstborn in the spirit, right, was consecrated unto the Most High. Every firstborn, according to the law, is consecrated unto the Most High because they're the heir of the throne, right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 13 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, sanctify, meaning set aside, right, ordain, consecrate unto me all the firstborn. Whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. Meaning what? If you open up the womb, the woman open up the womb of the children of Israel, and it's a man, hey, you got to get that to the Most High. If it's the beast, you got to get that to the Most High. The Lord even wants the first fruits, right, which is Pentecost, right, to be given unto him, which is given unto the priest. So the Lord wants the first of everything. The Lord likens the elect as what, man? Right? The first fruits, right, of the harvest, the first fruits. When you read the book of Hosea, right, chapter 9 and verse 10 all the way down to various other precepts, right? What are first fruits? Right, talking about all Israel that know this word, Most High willing and doing to the end. So when you go to Numbers chapter 3, right, and I'm go all the way down. I don't want to read this too much, get too lengthy. I'm gonna start maybe about 40. And the Lord said unto Moses, number all the firstborn of the males of the children of Israel from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. Why? Because they need to be consecrated and brought to the Most High. And thou shalt take the Levites for me, for I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of all the firstlings among the cattle of the children of Israel. So you had the firstborn of all the children of Israel, but the Lord saying, instead of doing that, I'm going to take the Levites, because I'm going to make the Levites my firstborn. Even though Reuben was the firstborn, right? All of this is going back to the law, right? Killing the firstborn. It says, and Moses numbered as the Lord commanded him all the firstborn among the children of Israel. It says, and all the firstborn males by number of the names from a month old and upward of those that were numbered of them were 20 and 20, Salaki, and 2,203 score and 13. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, this is the point, take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle, and the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. So when you go back to Exodus, right, chapter 13, verse 1, it says, sanctify unto me all the firstborn. Whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both man and of beast, it is mine. Right? Meaning what? It became the Most High's. It is the Most High's. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1. Right? And I'm going to start at verse number 11. And she vowed a vow and said unto the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look upon the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, I will give unto thine handmaid a man child. But I want a man child. I want a son, Heavenly Father. Then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, meaning he consecrated unto the Lord, and there shall no razor come upon his head. Right? So he went to the Nazarite vow. And it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. Right? We're not going to read all the way down. But the point of the matter, right, is that every woman, she wants a man child. Every man, he wants a man to raise up and be his heir in his stead. And the Most High even said in the book of Romans, right, that we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua. How much of an honor it is to be a joint heir with Yahushua. I'm not the firstborn. I don't deserve to be a joint heir with Yahushua. An heir is somebody that precedes the throne after their father. It says, let me get this definition. Late Latin, Greek, historios, powerful, supernatural, holy, sacred. Right, check that out. And that's what an heir is: sacred, holy. Right, when you go to the mighty book, right, of Galatians, and I want to touch on that precept I said in Romans as well. Bear with me. It's the mighty book of Galatians, chapter 4, right, in verse. I'm gonna start at 1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all. So the heir is really the Lord of all, but as he's a child, he's not entering into that position of his true kingship. Because if I have a son and I'm king, he's not the king. But he, as a child, he's really Lord of all, because once I pass away, he's going to take my throne. The same way, Yahweh Shai is saying that we're going to be joint heirs with him. And then the heir is waiting to rule. Right, let me get this real fast. Right, in the mighty book of Galatians. So if you take somebody's heir from them, you're taking everything from them. That's how sacred it was when the Lord gave his only begotten son. Let's go to the mighty book of Romans. That's his firstborn. The Lord gave his firstborn. The firstborn is spiritual. And when I say the firstborn, I mean the first man child. It's the book of Romans, chapter 8. And I'm going to start at verse, let me see what I want. Verse 17. And if children, then heirs. Because we're his children, the Most High's children. If we're his children, then we're heirs. Heirs of God and joint heirs with Yahushua. So we enter into the same type of spirit of authority, even though Yahushua is above us, obviously through the spirit, he's our king. You have a king, and then under the king, you're going to have his joint heirs that are ruling right along him. Just like you have America. Now, who's ruling aside America? The 10 toes for a season, like it says in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter. So as America is predominantly the highest empire at this time, it's still joining along with the 10 toes. Even though the 10 toes are under, right, America in power, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So it's like their rulership has never any kingdom, but they're ruling right alongside with the beast, which is America. So if we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua, we're going to receive that same spirit to be able to be a king and a ruler. even though he's the King of kings. It says, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. Right? So taking the firstborn is spiritual. When all of the firstborn of everything is given to the Heavenly Father. Right? By Shema Mashiach, Yahweh Shah. Right, let me get another quick precept. And the Lord, he's a death angel, likened unto the scriptures when you read. Let me get this quick precept too. This is Exodus chapter 4. Right? This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 22. Thus thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Why did he say that? What's the point of the Most High saying, Israel is my son, even my firstborn? Meaning, if you won't let my son go, I'm going to kill your son. He's my son. He's my firstborn. So the Most High said, look, if you don't want to give my son to me, I'm going to take him from you. It says, and I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. Check this out. And it came to pass by the way in the end that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. So when it says in the way by in the end means lodging, like a place of dwelling. So the Lord visited Moses and sought to slay him, right? And the Lord visiting Moses is like a death angel. So the Lord will visit the righteous, the wicked. The Lord will visit anybody. How much more the extremely wicked that the Lord has told 9 times, and this is the 10th time, as a 10 is a number of completion. That if you don't let my people go, I'm going to kill your firstborn, and I'm going to destroy your firstborn, right? And give them over to destruction. So as the Lord did this, right? Let's go back to the book of Exodus, chapter 11. I'm going to start at 8. It says, and all these thy servants shall come down unto me and bow down themselves unto me, saying, get thee out, and all the people that follow thee, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. That's the whole reason the Lord hardened his heart. The Lord hardened the hearts of these kings out here, man. You don't think that these kings, if it was up to them, they'll just make peace, man? They've been trying to have a peace treaty forever. They've been having UN meetings and coming together, seeking how they may not take it to World War III. But the Most High keep pushing that spirit of war on the earth that they cannot withdraw from, that the Lord may harden their hearts. You don't think that these kings understand they have kids and children and a land and their people? They're about to sacrifice their whole nation of Russia, their whole nation of China, their whole nation of Thailand and Ukraine, and all for the sense of war and fight and bloodshed. That's like a wicked king, and we have our own land, and I'm about to go to war, and or a king is about to go to war, or you're about to go to war, and you're about to push the button, man. They don't have underground bunkers. They don't have shelters. They don't have weaponry. But your mind so is engulfed in war that you can't withdraw anything other than the Lord hardening your heart. You're not thinking about the outcome. You don't care about the outcome. That's the spirit of Pharaoh. He didn't care that by his actions, all of his army got drowned in the sea. All of the firstborn got taken out. All the men were tortured and tormented through all of those 9 plagues. And the 10th was completion. So when you go into this thing, and the Lord multiplies and hardens their heart, that his name may be magnified in the earth, the same way he's going to do all over again. And for everybody that forgot about the Most High, didn't know about the Most High, was privy or on the ropes about the Most High's name is going to be manifested in those days. The Lord said, then shall every man look to his maker, and their eyes shall have respect unto the Holy One of Israel. Now, let me get that quick precept. What? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 7. It's like 17 and 7. At that day shall man look to his maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. So you're going to respect the Holy One of Israel, right? Whether you want to or not. This is the book of Romans, chapter 9, right? In verse number, let me see what I want. I'm going to start at verse number 15. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy. And I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that sheweth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I may shew, like that I may shew my power in thee, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. All the kings and all the earth has to know about the Most High. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 11, verse 10. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. So out of all of these plagues, death of the firstborn, lice, flies, blood, cattle, locusts, all the way down, boils, right? Till you get to every last one of them. Yet he still did not want to listen and hearken. That's when the Lord had to destroy him utterly, right? When you go to the book of Exodus, the 14th chapter. Most High willing, I could do another in-depth breakdown going into Moses, Aaron, the children of Israel, fleeing out of the land of Egypt, what that means spiritually, diving into how we were taken across the sea, right into salvation, to be able to wander, right? And go through all of the different plains in the wilderness. Most High willing, we're going to continue to move in the spirit of the Passover, leading up to the Passover. Most High willing, we're going to dive into the resurrection. If I don't touch on it, another brother will. Most High willing, we're going to dive into the hour of prayer. We're going to continuously go into all these accounts. Read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? And all the accounts of Mark 15th chapter, Mark the 16th chapter, Luke the 23rd chapter, the 22nd chapter, the 24th chapter, Matthew the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th chapter, and the book of John, the 19th, the 18th, the 19th, right in the 20th chapter. And all the chapters pertaining to Passover, as well as Exodus, the first chapter, all the way till you get right to the 11th chapter, to the 12th chapter, which is going into the mighty Passover. So Most High willingness was edifying through the Spirit, right? You continue to read, pray, and fast, and hold yourself right to the account that we have to be blameless in these last days. And Most High willing, you continue to be on fire. With that, I want to close out, giving all honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach, wa Malak Yahushua. Shalom.